Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network. And of course, you can hear the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network with all its great content, including news and notes, live broadcasts, interviews, and commentary by going to Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, either Stitcher.com, or go to TuneIn.com. And you can also hear it on YouTube. And if you follow me on Twitter at Digital25, you can also hear it there as well. And this week we have not as big a podcast we did last week. We went through a lot of information last week, but we do have some big information coming up. Of course, we have the final preview for the Rumble at Rosecroft that'll take place as we record this tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. No broadcast on the podcast that night. However, yours truly will be the ring announcer for that event. That's one reason why we have no broadcast that night. But it's going to be a great card. Juan Marsh and I will have a post-fight wrap-up show immediately following that card. We'll talk more about that as we go along. Also have some nice, interesting decisions for some Beltway Boxers this past week around the country, and mostly on the East Coast, and that was interesting as well. And we also have some interesting changes to, or I should say additions to, the April and May schedule. We're just calling it the Spring Fling of Beltway Boxing. Of course, we start with the awesome April of Beltway Boxing, followed by the magnificent May along the Beltway. And we do have updates on both April and May schedules coming up in this podcast. Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network is brought to you by Real Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain and muscle strain, everything in between, Boxing Law on the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. Go to freepainoffer.com. You buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com, where she has that great weight loss book, learning expert secrets about weight losses without dieting, eating real food along the way. She also has that great jewelry on her site. So go to Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Well, this past weekend, we had a couple of interesting decisions going on. 2 in Atlantic City, 1 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, it was a tough night for Baltimore, Maryland slick Nick Kisner, and that was at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey, because Kisner's heavyweight contest against Automatic Otto Wallin, that's how you pronounce his name, of Sundsvall, Sweden, that ended at the end of the first round after an unintentional headbutt. Late in that first round, the two men violently clashed heads. It was ugly, no question about that. And the result was a nasty cut near Nick Kisner's right eye. And the blood was going into the eye. Kisner said he could not see. And the doctors there in Atlantic City, they called a halt to the contest after the round was over. So it was a no contest. They did not go the full half the bout. They had to go at least 5 rounds to get a decision. Didn't even go 1. So Nick Kisner remains 21-4-1, 6 KOs. Wallin is undefeated, still at 20-0, 13 KOs. So a tough break for Nick Kisner. He gets those every now and again, and that was a tough one there. So tough break for Nick Kisner. Now on that undercard, however, big win for Marcus Dream Crusher Bates. And he scored an upset victory with a 4th-round TKO over Jesse Angel Hernandez of Fort Worth, Texas. Now, no word on the official time of the bout, but this is a big win for Bates. He had a loss early on against Release Alim, his only loss back in April of 2018. He had not fought since then, but he's now 9-1-1, 8 KOs. Now, Hernandez, going into this bout, was ranked 14th in the world by the WBA. So that ranking is gone, and Bates may even have that ranking right now. I have to look at the rankings later on. But Hernandez is now 12-3, 7 KOs. So a huge win for Marcus Bates, who has some, I've said over the past few years, he is a guy who has had mostly late round knockouts in his bouts. If you go to the 6th round, he may get a knockout in the 6th round. If you go to the 8th round, he may get that knockout in the 8th round. But this is amazing. So it's a big win for him. No question about that. So Marcus Bates back on the winning track on the undercard in Atlantic City, New Jersey at Boardwalk Hall. Now at the West End Plaza in Salisbury, North Carolina, super middleweight Ashton the Goon Sykes of Hanover, Maryland, he registered an upset. He won a 6-round unanimous decision over Roy King of Johnson City, Tennessee. Now, Actually, Roy King was undefeated going into that bout, but Sykes dropped it in the fourth round and went on to win the unanimous decision. Sykes is now 3-3 in his career. No knockouts, 3-3 in his career. I believe Sykes is 7-1 coming out of that bout. So big win for Ashton Sykes. We'll talk more about Ashton Sykes a little bit later on in this podcast. So congratulations, some good wins and a tough no decision for a couple Beltway boxers on the road last week. Now, as we record this, we are hours away, less than 24 hours away from the KBW Promotions card at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland, the Rumble at Rosecroft. And right now we will have, actually, this will be the way it will go going into tomorrow. 7 bouts on the card. We're not going to give you a full preview. We already done that. But we do know that Dustin Hernandez Harrison takes on Fred Jenkins Jr. That's in the main event. And Hernandez Harrison got down to 163 pounds. So a big one for him in this card. You can see all the weights on boxonbeltway.blogspot.com, by the way. Mike Ballaghan, 12-0, 9 KOs. Harrison is 31-0-1, 17 KOs. And Fred Jenkins Jr. 10-5, 3 KOs. Mike Ballaghan in a heavyweight bout, 6-round heavyweight bout. He's 12-0, 9 KOs. Take on Marquise Valentine, 5-5, 2 KOs. And again, you see the weights on the blog, but Valentine came in at 310 pounds. That should be interesting. So we'll see what happens. Montez Brown out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. He's 8-0, 6 KOs. He'll take on Mighty Joe Jones out of Leesburg, Virginia, returning to the Beltway for the first time since his amateur days when he used to fight as an amateur at Rosecroft and other places, and in the regional Golden Gloves. And he returns here. Jones is 9-1, 7 KOs. That could be some fireworks in that 6-round encounter. Yank Plana, the sexy Albanian out of Hagerstown, Maryland, 3-0, 1 KOs, takes on Jonathan Morgan of Norton Shores, Michigan. He's 0-1. George Harris out of Silver Spring, Maryland, 2-0. Both was win by knockout. Takes on Lamarco the Bull Ellis out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. He's 2-5. 1 KO to his credit. Interesting bout between Larry Hitman Pryor out of Frederick, Maryland. He's 10-9, 5 KOs. Taking on Greg Hotshot Hackett of Philadelphia, 18-1, 1 KO, and he makes his 7th straight appearance in the Beltway. And also Roger Belch, RB3 out of Hobbsville, North Carolina. He'll take on Darrell Harris out of Sarasota, Florida. He's 1-11-1. Belch is 12-1, 8 KO. So that is the card. Coming up, we start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time from Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. As we said, Juan Marshall and I will have a full post-fight wrap-up show immediately following that card. Now, a couple of quick additions to the card, the schedule, the spring thing of Beltway Boxing. First on the April side, the awesome April Beltway Boxing. We have this edition. This will take place on Friday, April 26th at the Forum in Inglewood, California. And that's where now originally Maryland super lightweight Emmanuel Transformer Taylor, he returns to action in a 10-round contest against undefeated Shakram Gayasov of Brooklyn, New York by way of Uzbekistan at the Forum in Inglewood, California. Taylor is 20-5, 14 KOs, and he has not fought since he lost by 5th-round TKO to Lucas Matisse back in May of 2017 in Las Vegas. So Taylor trying to get back on the winning track. This could be his last gasps here. But he takes on a tough competitor in Shakram Gayasov, who's 7-0, 6 KOs. He comes off a 5th-round TKO over Edgar Puerta. That was on February 23rd in Tijuana, Mexico. So Emmanuel Taylor back on the beam here. See if he can get going once again. 10-round against Shakram Gayasov. Of course, Taylor, a former world title challenger at one time. So we'll see what happens coming up. Now, there's a change to the May 4th card that will take place at the Waldorf Cultural Center in Waldorf, Maryland. There's an interesting change here, too. The main event has kind of changed. And I think it's right now, no disrespect to Filip Stankovic, who is still on the card, but against another opponent. This may be a more interesting card, interesting main event. The aforementioned Ashton the Goon Sykes will be in a 6-round bout against DC's Gregory Glizzy Clark. Now, both these guys have almost identical records. Sykes is 3-3, and Clark is 3-3-1 with 1 KO. So that should be interesting. We'll talk more about that as we go along, but that should be an interesting bout there. Mac Allen's in the fourth, still looking for an opponent. Destiny Day Owens will take on Daisha Ragland. She is from, I believe, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Michelle Nogue, who is out of Virginia, she'll take on debuting Brittany Evans out of Washington, D.C. She'll be on that card. Felipe Stankovic battling Alex Rojas, don't know where he's from. And Nathaniel Copeland, the juggernaut out of Washington, D.C., he'll take on Willie Harvey on this card. Nigel Fennell still looking for an opponent as well. So that's Saturday, May 4th from the Waldorf Cultural Center in Waldorf, Maryland. So now the big news. Now, we know that on Saturday, May 11th, from the Eagle Bank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia, that Jared Hurd will defend his IBF, WBA, and IBO Super Welterweight Championships against Julian J. Rock Williams. But another one of our Beltway boxers the following week will defend his title, although it will not be in the Beltway, but he will defend his title on May 18th. That's the WBC featherweight champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. out of Capitol Heights, Maryland. He'll make the fourth defense of his title. He'll face former world champion Kiko La Sensacion Martinez of Alicante, Comunidad Valenciana, Spain. And that'll be on Saturday, May 18th at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And that'll be one of the featured bouts on the card that headlined by Deontay Wilder defending his heavyweight title against Dominic Breazeale. And it'll be shown on Showtime. Now, Russell's 29-1, 17 KOs. He won his title in March of 2015 with a fourth-round TKO against over Johnny Gonzalez. That was in Las Vegas, Nevada. And he's defended the title once a year since then. He's had 2 defenses at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Ox Hill, Maryland, including his last defense, which was the 12-round unanimous decision over Jojo Diaz on May 19th at MGM. We also had that defense against Patrick Highland. He knocked him out pretty easily. So, and we'll see. This could be an interesting bout for Russell because Martinez is 39-8-2, 28 KOs, and he's won the IBF Super Bantamweight Championship, and he won that title with a 6-round TKO victory over previously undefeated Jonathan Romero. That was way back in August of 2013 in Atlantic City. Now, Martinez defended the title twice before he lost the bout to Carl Frampton. That was in Belfast, Ireland in September 2014. Now, Martinez has also competed for the WBA featherweight title. Actually, the WBA Super World Featherweight Championship. And he lost to Leo Santa Cruz by 5th-round TKO back in February of 2016 in Anaheim, California. And Martinez is ranked 3rd in the world by the WBC at this moment. So this could be interesting. You know, Kiko Martinez has a little bit more experience in the ring, but does he have the hand speed? Can he defend against the hand speed of Gary Russell Jr.? That's always something we have to wait and see about. So that'll be on Saturday, May 18th from Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York on the co-feature bout right now to Dominic Breazeale taking on Deontay Wilder. Also in that card will be Argenis Mendez, who just fought at MGM National Harbor and went to a draw with Anthony Peterson. So that'll be interesting to see. He's back on being really quickly in comparison. So he'll be on that card as well. So that's Saturday, May 18th from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And again, it'll be televised by Showtime. So Jared Hurd will be televised by Fox. And the 18th, that'll be Showtime. Now, don't forget, here in D.C., we've got May 18th at the Entertainment Sports Arena featuring Dominic Wade and Tierra Brown in regional title bouts. So that'll come up there. So a lot going on. We haven't had any updates on the May 25th card that features Alexander Usyk against Carlos Takam. Now next week we'll bring you the full May schedule, including the bouts that are out of town that we know of. Of course, we've given you the home schedule, so to speak, but we're going to give you the road schedule as well for some of our Beltway boxers. I think Mike Fox is on the road on May 11th as well. He's scheduled to be in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, as far as Michael Reed is concerned, we still haven't heard anything about that bout on April 25th in Indio, California. We have not heard more about that. In fact, he's not even listed on that card right now, so he may not have a bout on that card. We'll find out. And of course, Malik Hawkins has a bout on April 26th, along with Malik Warren, who yet to have an opponent for their card at the Met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So as we say, a lot going on. We started off this Saturday. Tomorrow, as we record this, first of 6 straight weeks of Beltway boxing every Saturday, pro boxing every Saturday between now and the end of May. We also have some amateur bouts coming up. Of course, the regional Golden Gloves coming up next Saturday. The bout sheet for the Golden Gloves is on the blog, boxonbeltway.blogspot.com, and we'll talk more about that next week. There's a couple bouts I want to highlight on that card. I'll be at the Belfast Beltway Classic at the Warburton Hotel in D.C., Warburton Hotel in Washington, D.C., and also there's the pro card at Tyson's Playground in Vienna, Virginia, the TAC Promotions card, and no word yet on who else is on that card. We haven't gotten any matches up on that. Now, we will give you the May schedule next week. Also, however, we are going to give you a very special remembrance because it'll be 20 years ago next week where one of the most interesting and one of the better cards we've had here in the Beltway celebrates its 20th anniversary next week. And it's interesting because not only do we have 3 of our best boxers ever on the card in title bouts, we also were used as a guinea pig that night as we were, DC tried to figure out how good open scoring would be. So we'll talk more about that next week. The 20th anniversary of what was called the Triple Jeopardy card. And we'll remember that card on our next podcast, next News and Notes podcast. Because, again, we'll be doing our next Box on Beltway post-fight wrap-up show coming up this Saturday from the Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. So that'll do it for another edition of Beltway Boxing News and Notes. Once again, we're brought to you by our Real-Time Pain Relief. Go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com, where she has great weight loss tips and great jewelry at Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Hopefully you can join us on Saturday, April 20th for the Rumble at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. Look forward to see you there. Until then, I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thank you as always for joining us. And always remember, keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.